Ladies and gentlemen, CG Reaction. This is the 6 Hour War, 1940 German invasion of Denmark. History matters. Yeah, okay. In 1940, so this is pretty early time of the World War II. So Denmark is landlocked with basically Germany, right? Only border with it has is with the Germany, which is kind of fucked up place to be. So I don't even know what their mentality was at the time, right? I'm pretty sure they were expecting something like this. Shit doesn't happen just like that, right? People can see it coming. Rise of Hitler wasn't just like, holy shit, here comes Hitler, right? It just it was for a decade or so, people were kind of seeing where Germany was going slowly. So I'm pretty sure Denmark probably saw it coming, right? So after obviously attack on the Poland, right, they would have thought like, holy shit, this is going to happen. And there are I think I don't know much about this, but I think the reason is going to be the Denmark Strait, right? We know it's a pretty important part, right, for the trading, obviously. So I think because of that, Hitler probably attacked it, so he can get steady supply of resources. Because let's be honest, Germany Germany hit a roadblock in the end because of the resources. That's why invaded Russia pretty fast, right? Because they needed oil and resources. So I'm pretty sure at the early stages that was the issue. They probably was trying to take over Denmark, so oil or whatever resources could come smoothly into Germany. But I don't know. The 6 Hour War, it just took 6 hours. So what, did they take over Denmark or what happened there? Because if they just take over the Denmark in 6 hours, that is fucking ridiculous. But it's not surprising, is it? Because it's Germany. How is Denmark supposed to fight against fucking Germany? And, Nazi Germany at that. So, yeah. But this video is going to be interesting. Remember, if you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe so I know which type of videos to react to more. Check out the reaction, there's a link in the description. There you'll find a playlist with my history reactions. There are many of them if you haven't seen them. And yeah, let's watch it.
1940 in Denmark is getting a little bit nervous about its southern neighbour, the Third Reich. There was good reason for this, since Germany had just conquered Poland and was at war with Britain and France. Germany was importing resources and materials from Sweden, and so both sides had an interest in controlling the neutral nations of Denmark and Norway. This would allow the side which controlled them to determine how much of the region's resources Germany would get. Germany thus decided to strike first with Operation Weserübung, a plan to conquer both Denmark and Norway in one fell swoop. Denmark had, for the most part, seen German aggression.
Yeah, I think, and it could be one of the reason. I mean, I might be, stretching a bit. Obviously, around this time, Russia wasn't the enemy of Germany, but let's be honest, Nazism doesn't suit well with communism. It's literally opposite in a way. So I guess Hitler's long-term goal probably was there to, cut off Russia's access to, because if you control this Denmark Strait, where is Russia's ship going to be, right? You could kind of cut off the Russia there. So I don't know. I guess Russia had the access in the Black Sea, right? I don't know.
Coming. Since 1937, it had been building up its military capability to deter aggression. In 1940, the Danish army stood at about 14,000 soldiers strong, but after the outbreak of the Second World War, they were ordered away from the border. This was to prevent Germany from using the excuse of a border skirmish as a justification for war, such as they had done with Poland. This of course didn't stop the Germans, since Hitler wanted Denmark. At 3:15 in the morning on April the 9th, the Germans landed Marines at Gedser to cut telephone lines. About an hour later, German troops sailed into Copenhagen and met no resistance, and about an hour after that, the main German assault into Denmark began. Since the Danish troops weren't at the border, they weren't able to get optimal defensive positions against the Germans, but that didn't stop them from fighting back. The German troops that had landed in Copenhagen simply walked up to the army headquarters.
Isn't that fucked up, right? Denmark thinking, if we don't put our soldiers at the border, maybe Hitler won't use that as an excuse. But they didn't know who they are dealing with. Like, Hitler's not going to give a shit. He's just going to invade anyway. But then again, if anything, that was, I guess, the right thing that happened. Because if the soldiers would have been at the border, they would have been dead. Right? You can't fight against Germany. All the 14,000 would have been dead. My tongue is slipping for whatever reason. But yeah, for all 14,000 would have been dead. I mean, that would have been fucked up. With this, it's less casualties, I guess. I don't know.
waters and secured it without any resistance. Having
There you
received such a peaceful reception, they moved on to the Danish king Christian X and his palace. Here, the king's lifeguard gave the Germans a slightly shootier welcome. Hitler ordered bombers to fly over Copenhagen but not to bomb it, to remind the Danes that Germany could flatten the capital if it so wanted to. On Jutland, the
Yeah,
defenders...
this scene is, I don't know, history matters. Certain scenes such as, like the running through the flower field, and this also like, coming close to all the way to here. Yeah, this is ridiculous. And yeah, the bomber thing. I mean, I've seen those videos, right? I've reacted to this with one of the older reactions of mine where, sounds of the World War II and things like that. In that, whenever you hear these bombers and things, right, especially from, Germany's, I don't know, the German bombers and whatever, the sound, the buzzing sound that comes with it, like, god damn, that is terrifying. Imagine that you're in Denmark, you're the king, right, and suddenly you hear this bomber. Clearly you're outmatched, right? You cannot go against German army and their basically equipment, right? So there is nothing you can do. Basically, you can put up a bit of fight, sure, but you're gonna lose anyway. And you hear these bombers going in front, like, okay, there's no way in hell I'm doing anything.
To remind the Danes that Germany could flatten the capital if it so
I love it.
wanted.
Look at that.
On Jutland, the defenders resisted bravely, but to be blunt about it, they weren't going to be able to resist the Wehrmacht for any significant length of time. Not that the soldiers had much of a chance to try anyway. The reason was that King Christian had surrendered Denmark to the Germans at 834, though the orders didn't reach some of the troops fighting in Jutland for another 15 minutes.
Oh, come on.
And that was it. Denmark had fallen to the German Reich in a little under 6 hours, one of the quickest conquests in human history. So the Danish surrender was done so in return for their maintaining control over their domestic policies, which Hitler allowed. The surrender, which occurred with Germany and Denmark suffering very few casualties, meant that the Germans weren't as harsh on the Danish as they maybe would have been. In fact, the German government...
Yeah, see, so I think, also, this is pretty early thing, right, after the Poland, right? So basically Hitler wanted to just show the world, like, if you just surrender, yeah, I'm going to be easy on you, which is kind of like a tactic, right? If people suddenly realize, like, Blitzkrieg, first of all, like how fast an immediate surprise attack Germany does, that people will be in shock and most countries will just give up out of fear, right? With all the videos I've seen of Nazi Germany, right, and how their equipments are, how their their tactics and everything worked, most of them were psychological warfare, right? It's just like, boo, I'm the boogeyman. That's their mentality, right? They didn't just want to do blitzkrieg as a just sign of force. They created lots of psychological warfare with it too, with their equipments and shit, right? Like how many numbers of bombers they basically send at one time just to basically freak people out, how many tanks they send out just to freak people out, the sound of it. So they relied on psychological warfare a lot. So I guess this was one of those tactics, like, if you surrender early, we'll be easy on you, and then blitzkrieg, so scare people. So they'll basically surrender, like, oh, I don't wanna be in the wrong end of Germany. I'll just be like Denmark, who just surrendered.
Used the speed of the war to argue that Denmark wasn't being occupied but simply being protected from Britain. Denmark would remain occupied until 1945, but the story of that occupation is one for another video. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and thank you for watching, and a special thanks to my Patreon.
Yeah. Damn, this was an interesting video. I didn't know about this 6-hour war that is short but kind of makes sense, right? I mean, when you watch all the World War II videos, it like kind of makes sense, like, yeah. But yeah, I'm pretty sure one of the main reason was Denmark Strait, right? Because Hitler probably wanted that to make sure the resources keep flowing. Lots of logistics go with it, right? I mean, when you see the whole war, you feel like Hitler was kind of short-sighted by the end, how he lost, how his resources just ran out like that, how his oil ran out. But whatever, all the way to the point where he was defeated, everything he took over, that requires lots of logistics, which kind of was here, right? Like, I need to make sure the resources keep flowing. Otherwise, he would have been lost in just few years, basically. Right, people, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.